Today I'm going to show you all the books that I read in the month of August. So in August I went to Paris, then I went back to my old house in France. So I did a lot of listening. So I ended up finishing Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Please don't freak out over the state of this book. It wasn't owned by me, I just found it secondhand on the internet because I wanted this edition specifically. They don't sell it anymore. Almost every book in this series that I own weren't originally mine. Just The Chamber of Secrets and The Order of the Phoenix were actually mine from the beginning. I borrowed several of them from my library school back when I first read them. So there's a huge difference between this book and the last three ones because it's actually really longer. It felt a lot longer too while on audiobook because I had to go through the whole phase where the whole school was hating on Harry. It lasted really longer and it really made me in a sour mood as well. And the more I read the series, the more I realize J.K. Rowling's genius because every scene has some kind of hint as to the growing plot. But we don't feel like we're reading a mystery book, but we just follow Harry and his friends through their year at school and trying to make Harry survive. It flows so fluidly that we don't really pick up on these hints because, well, maybe it was because of the audiobook, because the narrator doesn't really stop to let you reread sentences to be sure you got the right meaning or to just stop and think about it. And really, this reads like any other Harry Potter book. Like, it reads just like the three first ones until the very end where it's all death and destruction and Lord Voldemort being back and everything. And I really think that this book is a lot better than what the movies could do because they had to cut loads of stuff. We lost most of Hagrid's story. We lost all the work Harry actually put into trying to survive the trials, which, like, it feels like he doesn't do anything during the movie, but actually spends hours and hours with Ron and Hermione in the library. When you go through it with Harry, you don't really think you're stupid or anything. It's just like, when you get Moody / Bartemius Crouch Jr.'s version of it, Harry has been helped so many times he could never have survived even one single trial on his own because he has been helped in so many different ways and clever ways by Bartemius Crouch Jr. It feels like Harry was really stupid, but it doesn't feel like it when you're experiencing it with him. J.K. Rowling really has succeeded in making us feel like this world isn't fair. And the biggest example of that is the Minister for Magic, Cornelius Fudge, actually denying the whole story when before he had trusted both Dumbledore and Harry. It's just the fear in him that makes him go bonkers. Like, she's really done an amazing job at it. And the fact that this world isn't fair because, well, you can see Cornelius Fudge, the Ministry often does mistakes, convicts wrong people, just like Sirius, and the fact that Severus Snape bullies his students without any punishment, it really does make these children feel like they need to do something because no one else will do it in their place. In our world, we kind of trust the government and the police and the United Nations to not stay idle while bad actions are taking place. But in the Harry Potter world, nobody's going to take care of it except them. And that puts a lot of pressure on their shoulders. And I think this is why, even as adults, we don't really feel like they're children. Sometimes they can be petty, they can have like stupid arguments, but we really don't feel like we're following children because they have so much responsibility thrust upon their shoulders. The second time I reread The Philosopher's Stone, I really felt like these children were taking a lot of responsibilities instead of just letting teachers take care of it. But now, the more I experienced this world, the more I realized that the situation I was searching for was unfair. Because clearly you can't really trust authorities. You can trust Professor McGonagall and Professor Dumbledore, but there are other people more powerful than them in certain situations that can undermine their power. And that's why these students, who are still children, he's just 14, need to take matters in their own hands. What I really liked about this book was how well they took care of Malfoy, because most of the time he has his way and he makes them feel miserable or angry or something else, but really Malfoy in this one was really put back into his place by Professor Moody and the menace that he represents, and that was really satisfying. And sometimes I just ask myself, what are your hobbies, Draco? Is it just bullying Harry Potter your purpose? Don't you have something else to do? Because this really feels like an obsessive behavior. He doesn't do anything else than bully Harry. He doesn't have any other purpose in life. It's just bullying Harry. So actually, the first book I read in the month of August, which I read really quickly through it, was The Time Riders by Alex Scarrow. The story is about 3 children, one girl of 13, one of 18, and a dude, an Irish guy, that is 16. The 3 of them were supposed to die, were rescued just minutes before their death by someone who can time travel. And so they end up part of this time police thing, and they call themselves Time Riders, and they're the ones who are supposed to look after time and make sure it's not messed up with. This book was fun, but it wasn't my favorite book of all time. When you think time travel in the point of view of a creator, well, the first thing you want to do is mess up with Nazis, right? It's the first thing you want to mess up with, because it's the biggest what if we have in recent history. What would have happened if the Nazis won? It would have been a terrible thing, right? And that's what this book does, basically. I feel like this book has made a couple of mistakes, and it was a little too obvious because I could guess most of the plot and what was going on, and sometimes it was a little bit clumsy in how it was developing things. I really like the characters though, even though Maddie, which is the 18-year-old girl, and Sal, the 13-year-old one, weren't really developed a lot because they had a lot less time to actually develop. They didn't have so much time in the story as Liam, the Irish dude. I feel like Liam's purpose, why he was chosen, was just because he's a white dude. Because when you want to travel back in time, you don't want to be a woman of color. Better be a white dude so that you can blend in and have all the privileges. I feel like there were a lot of incoherences and big ones at that, and I don't know if it's going to be solved in the next 9 books or not. I asked myself serious questions a lot of times, and I thought that some things I thought were supposed to be thought out were not, and were pretty dumb. Otherwise, it was a really enjoyable book. It was fun to read and really quick as well. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the story. Well, maybe for Liam because he's Irish. I feel like this was supposed to be for a younger audience than me. Even though one of the characters has more or less my age, she didn't have enough time in the book. The book wasn't really focused on her, so I didn't really get her perspective. And the last book I read in the month of August was a really good surprise, and it was The Weavers of Saramir, The Braided Path by Chris Whitting. I actually read it in French because this is my dad's copy. I just get what he gives me. So the story takes place in this world called Saramir, where more and more people are born aberrants. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And these people have special powers, special abilities that none of them really control. And the Weavers, who are people who can basically use magic through the masks that they wear. So the Weavers are really high placed in society. Most of them have found a place in a noble family and do all the work that noble family requires. But they have an ulterior motive which is known by everybody. They execute every newborn aberrant that they find because the Weavers think that they're evil. We actually follow two main characters. Kaiku, who is a young woman whose family has just been murdered, and she wants to find out who killed them, while being followed by demonic creatures. We also follow the heir of the Empress, who is a little girl called Lucia, who is also an aberrant, but her abilities are subtler because they don't show physically. It's more of a mental ability. So Lucia has been kept a secret from the whole of the nobility, including the Empress's own weaver called Virch. And once her secret comes out, there is a whole lot of chaos going on, and Kaiku and Lucia have to survive in all of this. So I was really surprised with this book because it's actually written by a man, and most of the cast of characters are women. And they're not just women, they're profound, deep, rich characters. And most of the Weavers, who are actually the bad people, are men. They are creepy and disgusting and perverts and like the worst kind of humans. And they're all men, which is weird. Yeah, I have been so accustomed to reading fantasy where the world is sexist, like especially adult fantasy. Like every adult's fantasy, like 90% of it, the world is sexist. And in this one, the Empress is a woman, her heir is a woman, Kaiku is a woman, she meets loads of women who help her, there is one dude, there's just one nice dude. And I was just extremely surprised, and it wasn't like I was surprised when I first saw these characters, it was just afterwards I was just like, oh yeah, they're all women, and that's nice. It's really a perfect counterpoint to every other sexist fantasy novel out there. And these women aren't even the typical strong female character trope that is in YA fiction, but also in other types of fiction, that she is strong like a man should be strong, like she doesn't have any emotions, she just knows how to kill, she's just physically strong and not really emotionally strong. They are both of these. There are characters, well, since most of them are women, there are women in this novel that actually change their mind, which is something I found really fascinating because changing your mind this much is absolutely incredible. So she did that. She had like a set opinion, and then she changed her opinion when she saw that she wasn't in the right. And that's impossible to see in most adult fantasy. And that's so extraordinary. Like, we see women being strong, we see them weak, we see them, well, change their minds, we see them powerful, we see them cry, we see them grow, we see them, and that's incredible, honestly. I'm really, really greatly surprised by this book and the profoundness of these characters. Like, really, in this book and even in the lore within the world, the women are being put on a pedestal and men are just being jealous of what they actually have. Because in this world, women represent life and everything, and men are just jealous of that status. And because they have better abilities, because of their connection to life. And I'm just like, a man wrote this. That's incredible, honestly. So yeah, I really recommend The Weavers of Saramir if you are tired of all the sexist fantasy books you can find. This is the remedy, honestly. It's really, really good. So yeah, that's all I read in the month of August. Let me know if you've read any of these books and tell me what you've thought of them. If there are any faults that I missed or something. Good luck to everyone who's going back to school or to uni or anything. Bye! Knox.